Good afternoon. Heavy snow has hit much of the United Kingdom, causing disruption to roads, railways and airports. 20 flights have been cancelled at Stansted Airport, while flights were suspended at Luton. A number of motorways have been covered in snow, with police asking people to travel only if absolutely necessary. Well, the heaviest snow has fallen in North Wales. Amber snow warnings have been issued there, in the Midlands and in northern and eastern England. In a moment, we'll be talking to our reporters in the worst affected areas. But first, this report from Lee Milner.
This was the scene on the M25 in Buckinghamshire today. Heavy snow brought motorists to a standstill. Over in Llangollen in Wales, there was no chance of people getting anywhere today.
This is by far the worst I've ever seen. It's probably the worst snow I've ever seen, to be honest. It's certainly about a foot deep around and still coming in.
The RAC says it's currently dealing with 5 breakdowns a minute and expecting around 7,500 by the end of the day. With 10 to 20 centimetres falling in some parts of the UK, gritters have been replaced with ploughs in areas such as Redditch in Worcestershire. As snow continues to fall, the Met Office has issued an amber weather warning, mainly for the east of England, West Midlands and Wales. Passengers at Birmingham and other UK airports are being warned about delays and cancellations. 20 flights have already been cancelled from Stansted. Flying over Wales, it could be a scene from The Snowman. A thick coating of white right across the mountains and lakes. For these children in the Peak District, finally a chance to play in a winter wonderland.
I like it because where we live we never get any snow. It's just sleety. I like snow because you can make snow angels and snowmen, and I find it really fun to do.
For many, it's a time for fun and enjoyment. But with more snow on the way, more disruption is inevitable. Lee Milner, BBC News.
Well, we can talk now to Jessica Parker, who's at Gerrards Cross by the M25 in Buckinghamshire, and Matthew Richards, who's at Llangollen in Denbighshire in Wales. Jessica, to you first of all, the traffic there moving behind you, but pretty slowly.
Yes, as you can see, M25 clockwise here, moving pretty slowly, but it was at a complete standstill just an hour and a half ago. In fact, we saw a car being towed away from the central lane right here on the M25 in Buckinghamshire. And Highways England, of course, advising people still not to travel unless they absolutely have to. A nearby council, Hertfordshire County Council, say they've spread up to 1,000 tonnes of salt since midnight. There's also been rail and tube disruption into London, not to mention, of course, as we've heard, disruption at the airports as well. And this is all after the Met Office extended its amber weather warning to large areas of the south, including Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire, Essex, Gloucestershire, Wiltshire and Oxfordshire. And in fact, there's been up to 12 centimetres of snow at High Wycombe, which is just 15 miles from where I am now. So plenty of snow and related disruption in the south, perhaps more than was expected.
All right, Jessica, thank you very much indeed. And to Matthew Richards, who's at Llangollen in Wales, and really huge snowfalls there where you are today.
It's been snowing very, very heavily across North and Mid Wales for much of the morning and didn't show much sign of abating as yet. We've had over a foot of snow in Sennybridge in Powys. Power lines, some trees are down in parts of Wales and a number of accidents on the roads as well. A hospital just over the border in Shropshire has been appealing for drivers of 4x4 vehicles to help ferry staff in and out of their shifts. And also hospitals across North Wales have been using the Red Cross to help transport blood supplies and other medical equipment between the hospitals, so people are keeping one close eye on the weather to make sure that it doesn't get any worse.
Matthew, thank you very much indeed. Matthew Richards reporting there, and also thanks to Jessica Parker at the M25 in Buckinghamshire. Now, in the last half an hour, it's been announced that Max Clifford, the disgraced former celebrity publicist, has died. He was 74. Clifford suffered a heart attack in his cell at Little Hay prison in Cambridgeshire yesterday. He'd been serving an 8-year jail sentence for historical sex offences. Let's get the latest from our Home Affairs correspondent Danny Shaw, who's with us. Danny, this has been announced by the Ministry of Justice in the last few minutes.
Yes, a statement from the Ministry of Justice has confirmed the death of Max Clifford in hospital. As you say, he'd been taken there yesterday after apparently suffering a heart attack. There will be an investigation that is routine, and the department has offered Max Clifford's family its condolences. Clifford was serving an 8-year term for indecently assaulting 4 women and young girls. The youngest victim was 15. He was convicted in 2014 after a long trial. He had maintained his innocence all along. He'd vehemently denied the allegations, but he was found guilty in what was really a groundbreaking case for the Scotland Yard's Operation Newtree investigation. It was the first conviction of that. And he continued to protest his innocence, and in fact the case was due to be heard at the Court of Appeal in the next few months. But it has to be remembered that this was a huge downfall for Max Clifford. His career was in ruins. He was one of the most powerful people in the media, able to make people's careers, able to manipulate stories into the newspapers. Incredible power in terms of celebrity and so on, but all that was gone with the conviction.
Danny Shaw, thank you very much indeed. Labour has suggested that Britain should stay aligned to the European Union after Brexit, allowing the easy movement of people and continuing payments to Brussels. The party's Brexit spokesman, Sir Keir Starmer, said he wanted the UK to stay in the customs union and a version of the single market. Well, the government says it's committed to a broad and ambitious free trade deal outside the EU. Our political correspondent Susanna Mendonça reports.
A moment heralded as a landmark deal in Britain's EU negotiations. But this was just the starting point for doing the deal that Britain really wants with the EU, which is all about trade. And today, the Brexit Secretary gave us a clearer idea of what the government wants that to look like.
If the basic deal, I'm being very crude about this, but is Canada plus the city or something like
Canada
that?
Canada plus as well, probably
Would
be one way of putting it.
The trade deal Canada has done with the EU took 7 years to negotiate and didn't include the financial sector, which is key to the UK's economy. But the Brexit Secretary says that isn't the only example he's looking at, and services would have to be included in any deal.
What we want is a bespoke outcome. We'll probably start with the best of Canada and the best of Japan and the best of South Korea, and then add to that the bits that's missing, which is the services.
But Labour are looking towards Northern Europe as a model for the kind of deal it would be after. Norway isn't in the EU but has access to the single market and pays for the privilege. Labour's Brexit Secretary revealed he would want a similar setup to retain the benefits of the single market and customs union, but that could come at a price.
Norway pays money in. They do it actually on a voluntary basis, not to the budget. But there may be...
Would you accept it?
There may have to be payments that have to be negotiated.
The focus now is all on getting a trade deal for Britain, but with varying opinions of what that deal should look like, and the EU unlikely to want to give the UK a better deal outside than it had inside the club, that might prove tougher than the deal that got the government to this point in the negotiations in the first place. Susanna Mendonça, BBC News.
The Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson has held talks with the Iranian president in an attempt to secure the freedom of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe, a British woman imprisoned on charges of spying. Mr Johnson described the visit to Tehran as worthwhile. Let's talk to our diplomatic correspondent James Robbins, who's here with me. James, does it look like there may have been a bit of progress?
It does look as if there might have been. The mere fact of getting access to President Hassan Rouhani, I think, indicates that. They spent nearly an hour together. Now, Boris Johnson's very deliberately said nothing publicly before leaving Iran. This is so sensitive. But the Foreign Office put out a statement saying that they discussed the full range of issues, including banking matters and our concerns about the consular cases of dual nationals. Now, banking matters could include an outstanding debt of £400 million owed by Britain to Iran. Britain says the money is ready to be paid and they're only waiting to make sure they can do it in a way that is compliant with international sanctions. Neither side is linking the money in any way with this appeal for prison releases. But nevertheless, you can see that there is a possibility for progress, and that's what the Foreign Office say they're going to try and build on.
All right, James, thank you very much. James Robbins, our diplomatic correspondent. That's it from me. The next news on BBC One is at 10 to 6. Goodbye for now.
Afternoon. Well, it's been a winter